The dictionary defines bravery as courageous behavior or character, but I'm not sure if what I'm doing is courageous or stupid. A review of a video game? What, was I just getting sick of Conker or something? Nah, you'll be seeing more of him later. But I've already been throwing lots of Mario Kart videos down your guys' throat, so what the heck? Let's put the Nintendo Switch's capture button to good use and try out this! Also, yes, I do have a capture card now, but it's gonna be a while before I learn how to use that. Before we get started, I should mention that I'm playing this game off the Mega Man Legacy Collection, and while I'm sure some sort of purist fucktard is on his way to kick my ass, I don't care. This collection preserves some of the best NES games of all time, along with a bunch of museum extras and customization options. God damn! Alright, let's jump into the game that started it all, Mega Man 1. We'll start with the story, since you all probably know how it goes, and it's pretty simple. It's so simple, I'd argue it should be taught in most elementary schools, but the US education system hasn't responded to my messages. Blah. So these two guys, Dr. Light and Dr. Wily, made robots together. Dr. Light made 8 robots, 6 for work outside, and 2 for work in the lab, rock and roll. Dr. Wily got angry and turned those 6 robots into war machines, but Rock, feeling a strong sense of justice, decided to become a super fighting robot and cut that shit out. Even though there's already a robot named Cutman. Other than that, there's really not much to discuss here. And as for why Dr. Light and Roll aren't in this game at all, I really couldn't tell you. You can find them both in the credits, but why isn't Roll just a player 2? There's no 2-player mode in this game at all. Very strange. And don't even get me started on the North American manual, which makes up shit about Monsteropolis. Holy shit, this game is endorsed by Captain Commando. Take it all! Alright, let's get on with the game's graphics. In a statement, it's pretty good. Although I'd like to preface that, on a lot of the game's marketing, it really tries to sell how it's high-tech, state-of-the-art. Some of this game's backgrounds are just blank blue voids of nothing. I don't know what these developers were on. Overall, the game looks fine, but not nearly as well-refined or extravagant as the later NES games. Although, I have always enjoyed the cartoony style of the early Mega Man games. The sprites are all expressive and cute, without being super chibi to death like in Mega Man Powered Up. And yes, I'm obligated to mention that Mega Man's blue color palette was inspired by the NES's limited color range. Every time somebody mentions that, a sweatshop worker jumps off a fucking bridge. Stepping over to the game's soundtrack, and I gotta say, this shit is fire. Man. God damn it! In a lot of ways, the soundtrack rings a lot of the same bells that the graphics do. Obviously, it's all good stuff, just not as good as the future games. To give credit where credit is due, I think tracks like Elect Man, Guts Man, Iceman, and heck, even Wily Stage 2 for how it represents the finality of the game. Those are all good tracks. But on the whole, if we're looking for iconic Mega Man tracks, it's the first game that doesn't get brought up as much compared to the other ones. But on the whole, still pretty good. Okay, story, graphics, music. Is there anything I'm missing before we get onto the gameplay? Oh yeah. Why the fuck is there a point system in this game? Alright, but let's get into this thing for real. What you see is pretty much what you get. It's a basic 2D platformer where you can jump and shoot. While the franchise has explained that Mega Man shoots solar energy, I think we all know deep down that those are lemons. It's a lemon party. The lemons are a good weapon though, and you have unlimited of them. So overall, they're not bad, but why can Mega Man only shoot directly in front of him? Dude, is your arm tired? Get that checked out. But like it or not, you're gonna need those energy shots to take care of these enemies. Because let me tell you, they are aggressive. You've got these motherfuckers that are like Hammer Brothers. You've got these green-ass bastards that I fucking hate.
And then these motherfuckers. These motherfuckers make me want to jam rusty fucking sporks into my eye sockets! Thankfully, that's where Mega Man's signature ability comes in. The ability to steal enemies' weapons. Holy shit, Mega Man was Kirby before Kirby was Kirby. Kirby, you son of a bitch! After defeating each of the 6 Robot Masters, Mega Man will gain their signature weapon, and can use them whenever he likes, so long as he keeps them ammoed up. Which I guess was to balance out the fact that each of them is way more useful than the Mega Buster. Except the Hyper Bombs. Those suck. The Firestorm is really powerful, the Ice Slasher can freeze enemies in place, and the Thunder Beam is really freaking OP. I mean, I guess something in this game had to be OP. Really, its only drawback is that it lags the game to shit. Which is a good time to mention, even though I said the game looks pretty good, my god, this game is filled with slowdown. Yeah, NES Mega Man games are quite infamous for the amount of sprite flickering and lag. I know it's just a product of its time, so I won't be too hard on it, but it really makes some of these games hard to go back to visually. But with all these weapons at your disposal, it means this game should be a comfortable ride from beginning. Yeah, if there's one thing Mega Man games are known for, it's their hard difficulty. I already talked about the aggressive enemies, but let's just say they're not the only things that are giving you shit, and not even for the right reasons. Now, we're not talking Ghosts and Goblins level difficulty, but these platforming sections are going to ask you to bring your A game, or else you're going right into a bottomless pit. Mega Man controls just fine, but it's those instances where enemies swarm you in do-or-die sections where you really start to feel the years fading from your lifespan. Knockback is the term of the day, and it's a super fighting robot / Simon Belmont's worst nightmare. Aside from glitches. Seriously, what the fuck is going on here? I try using the magnet beam on this enemy / platform and I fall right through it and— What the fuck, Cutman? Cut that out! Speaking of the magnet beam, in addition to the 6 weapons you get from the Robot Masters, there's one more unlockable weapon you can find in Electman stage, the magnet beam. Remember this. One last thing to mention about the game's overall design. While some of the stages will throw more shit at you than others, it's worth noting that in general, all of their difficulties are relatively the same. And that's because of this game's innovative feature. You can play any stage in any order. This adds immensely to the replay value. Sure, there's only 6 Robot Master stages, but it means that you can pick any one in any order, and it allows you to experiment with what kind of weapons you can bring in what different stages. But at the end of each of those stages lies the respective Robot Master, which are basically the game's main bosses. The Robot Masters will all engage you with their signature weapon, and it feels pretty cool when you take the weapon from them afterwards. But honestly, there is some really horseshit balancing here. Bomb Man and Cut Man are piss easy, while Elect Man and Fireman? Fuck these guys! Fuck them to hell! Fireman especially. Seriously, I don't think it's even remotely possible to defeat him without his weakness. And what the fuck does it say here? CP? Mega Man. Dude, that's disgusting.
Disgusting!
Although, as I just alluded to, each of the 6 Robot Masters is weak to another's weapon. And part of the fun comes from discovering who's weak to what weapon, like how Electman is weak to Cutman's weapon, because you're like, cutting electrical wires. That's pretty funny, I think. Just be sure not to lose all your lives while fighting these guys. Otherwise, you gotta start the whole stage over again. Which is funny, because this game doesn't even have a save or password system. You gotta do the whole thing in one run. So by this point, you've made it through all the stages, hopefully remembered to grab the magnet beam, and learned all the Robot Master's weaknesses like some sort of fucked up game of rock, paper, scissors. Wait, that's exactly like Pokemon. Get fucked, you yellow rat! After enduring all of that shit, it's finally time to take the fight to Dr. Wily. Dr. Wily. The Dr. Wily stages are all played in a sequential order,
And while each of the bosses at the end of the stages have their own weaknesses like the Robot Masters, there's no more abilities to get. You've gotten everything by this point. Although a perk to that myself and a lot of other people like is that the game is well aware of this and builds the levels around you having all your abilities, like the beginning of the first Wily stage, where you literally have to tear down the fucking wall to break in. That is awesome! Except, here's where that mentality falls flat on its ass. You remember the magnet beam? That item I brought up earlier? It's a weapon that allows you to create platforms temporarily. On its own, it's good for finding hidden items or just crossing annoying platforming sections, but guess what? The magnet beam is a required item to beat the game. You need it to get past this section in Wily Stage 1. And if you just so happen to not grab it in Electman stage, well, guess what? You can't complete this level.
Who did it? Why'd they do it? Are they still alive? Can I find them? We're gonna go find them.
Other than that, I mean, Wily Stage 1 isn't that bad. Until the Yellow Devil. Fuck this guy, I refuse to fight it the normal way. Wily Stage 2 is kinda annoying because you're constantly at risk of getting pelted into the bottomless pit by all these enemies. But on the plus side, you get to have a rematch with Cutman and Electman, so that's pretty cool. Make it to the end though, and you'll have a boss fight against yourself.
Did you do this, you son of a bitch?
Wily Stage 3, there's some parts where water's pushing you forward, and then you fight a bubble. This stage is pretty forgettable. And then you get to Wily Stage 4, and then there's a bunch of statues of Gutsman everywhere? What am I even playing? Although here, the game is generous enough to give you the one-time item, the Yashichi, which completely restores all your health and weapon ammo. And you're gonna need it, because now suddenly you have to fight Bomb Man, Fireman, Iceman, and Gutsman all in one run. So needless to say, the trek through the Wily stages is quite the endeavor. But if you can manage all that, you'll reach the game's final battle against Dr. Wawa. And done! I did it! Seriously, for a final battle, this Wily capsule here leaves a lot to be desired. All it does is shoot at you for 2 phases, and you just shoot at it back, and if you knew its weaknesses going into this fight, you already won. But with that, the day is saved, Dr. Wily is defeated, and Mega Man can put all this shit behind him. Fuck. Overall, the first Mega Man game is a great Kickstarter to the series and the Blue Bomber's legacy during a time when many contemporary games were so ass they would make any angry video game nerds go like,
This is fucking shit. It's diarrhea shit. Fuck, this game is horrible. Fuck some diarrhea. Fuck ass sucks and shit. It's balls. What a piece of shitload of fuck.
Despite all this, Mega Man 1 is still a classic example of first game syndrome. Because yeah, it's great on its own merits, but compared to many of the future games, the music, the level design, the graphics and sound, the enemy balancing, all that, it just can't compare to the future games. What makes this interesting is that Capcom created Mega Man in an attempt to get into the console market when the NES blew up, so to see that this game didn't sell that well sorta reflects that this game overall isn't the real reason why Mega Man is the superstar he is today. No, that title goes to Mega Man 2, but that's for another day. Overall though, Mega Man 1 is still a damn fine game, and with that, I've successfully completed reviewing the first Mega Man game, and my first game review in general, and I hope you all like it. So now the question is, do I do Mega Man 2 next? The whole series? How many more games are even in this series? We're doing Bubsy next. Also, there's a rewind feature in the Legacy Collection, and you can do this.